A very good evening and welcome to the next series of Manifesting the Integral Vision. We have had the first webinar that we held last month, and this is the second webinar in the same series, which is on the theme of music for healing. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Yuval Ron and Dr. Richard Gold today, and we give them a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Just a few words about them. Yuval Ron is an award-winning composer who has been involved in the world of music therapy since a commission in 1990 from researcher Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute for Hemi-sync music composition using binaural beats. Now we'll hear more about what that is. He has collaborated with neuroscientists Mark Waldman and Dr. Andrew Newberg, psychotherapist Dr. Sanjay Manchanda, pioneer healers Dr. Richard Gold and Gail Lynn, Sufis, Kabbalists, and Ayurvedic healers, and is the founding director of the record label Meta Mindfulness Music, which produces quality, intentional healing music for use in clinics and treatment centers worldwide. Yuval was invited to perform meditative music for the Dalai Lama, the Sufi Sheikh Sidi Muhammad, collaborated with the Sufi leaders Pir Zia Inayat Khan and Pir Shabda Khan with numerous other masters, including the Zen Buddhist priest and master artist Hirokazu Kosaka. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Richard Gold, who actually is a friend of ours on Facebook, and which is how I got to learn about this wonderful work that they're doing. Richard Gold is the president and executive producer of Meta Mindfulness Music, a music production company producing original music informed by ancient wisdom traditions and modern neuroscience. Richard graduated from the New England School of Acupuncture in 1978 and has devoted his professional career to the study, practice, teaching, and research in the field of East Asian traditional medicine. Richard was one of the 4 founders of the Pacific College of Health and Science, the largest graduate institute in the USA for the academic training of doctors of East Asian medicine, with campuses in San Diego, Chicago, and New York City. Currently, Richard serves on the board of directors of the California Institute for Human Science in California. So with that, I'd like to welcome both our speakers and ask that we begin with a moment of silence, as it's customary, as an invocation and concentration before we invite Yuval Ron, who will begin the symposium today.
Okay, thank you.
We are now inviting Yuval.
Well, I'm very happy to be with you today with my instrument called the oud. This is a Middle Eastern lute. It's a very ancient instrument, which is the predecessor of the lute and the guitar. And I would like to share with you some music for meditation as an introduction into our conversation. I'd like to invite you to just focus your mind on the sound. Let the sound take you on a journey, but be aware of your body and your mind, your sensation during this very short exercise. Note how you feel, note what kind of thoughts coming through your head, a sense of transportation or transporting you to another location, images that may come to you, even sensation of heat or cold. There will be first part and second part to this musical meditation, and Try to note how you feel in the first part and how you feel in the second part. And you will know when the parts are transitioning. You will feel it. But let's see what happens when you just focus your mind on sound. So, how did you feel in the beginning versus how you feel right now at the end? I personally feel a very marked difference in the mood, in my feeling, from where we started and where we ended. And I'm wondering if any of you could help me define it in words. Could you, if you could unmute yourself and suggest what changed in your feeling, in your mood, in your sense of temperature or imagery from the beginning of the music and the end of the music, this journey. Where did it take you from which point to what point?
You could raise your hands, or somebody's written on chat, much more peaceful. Marta and Robert Fortin.
Yes. Any sense of on the spectrum of dark and light?
Hmm. I noticed that the third eye, the chakra, is being activated in my brain. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was on the throat
Mm-hmm.
chakra, and sometimes here. The
Yeah.
music vibration was sort of activating something here.
Yes. Did you feel any difference in the first half and the second half? Any difference in the beginning when the music started, during the first third, and where we ended? Any difference in sense of light or dark, or any sense of heavy or light, or any sense of open space versus closed space? Anybody had any sensations at all, or any feelings, any emotional feelings?
You put up your hands and answer.
You, yeah,
Unmute. Yeah. Jyotika wants to say something,
please.
or you could write in the chat box. Somebody's written, the feeling was progressing towards a flowing water energy.
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, now I can talk, I think. Can I?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I felt just loosening, without really trying. It happened by itself. Like suddenly my shoulders dropped, and I was at ease. That was sort of a tangible feeling. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody else could formulate in words what was the difference in feeling and emotion and senses of dark and light, open, close between the first half and the second half, where we started and where we ended, beside of the impact of peacefulness? Okay, so I see
Second half was more dense. That's the only thing I
the
got.
the what? Say it again,
Second
please.
half was more dense, was more,
A little bit busier. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, well, what is important? Yes, Joseph, please.
I found the first part, I was more wandering, searching, trying to find pattern or some organization. The second part seemed to really engage me, and I felt much more into the second part and much more with a flow. And so I found it to be both in terms of just disorganization for me, and then organization in the latter part and greater depth.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm sure that if each one of us would really uh, focus and bring the ability to express in words, which is hard. It's hard to express in words how we feel when we hear music. I think that each one of you would be able to attest that the music had some kind of impact on them, whatever the impact was, whatever the words that you use, the music affected us. And this is an amazing phenomena. This is natural phenomena, and we are across the ocean. I'm in Los Angeles, and most of you are in Mother India, far away, and all I have is this humble instrument, string instruments, and without any words and without any technology, without any brain scan technology, without touching you, without hugging you, without going into your brain with surgery, I am affecting your brain. I am able to reach your brain all the way across the ocean and cause your brain to feel and think specific thoughts and feelings that I actually intended to cause. This is intentional. And if I wanted to make you cry, I could have made you cry. And if I wanted you to feel happy, I could have made you feel happy. I could affect your emotional state. And this is an ancient art and science that have been used in shamanic times, in tribal times. All of our ancestors all over the world have used this for magic and for medicine and for dramatic and emotional manipulation of the feelings and emotions of the members of the tribe. And so nowadays we use it in the cinema, we use it in theater, we use it to manipulate the emotions and thoughts of the audience. And this is a science and art. This is something that I went to school to study. I studied film scoring, how to score music for films. That's my education, that's my training. And now this is forging an incredible path in contemporary science and medicine. So it's being used now to impact the well-being and health of people. And that's what we are here to discuss. So please, Dr. Gold, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Yuval. I need to come back into my intellectual part because you stirred my emotional self very profoundly there. Welcome, everybody. So wonderful and such an honor to be here today with you. I never dreamed of being a president of a music company. It never crossed my path. I was a humble acupuncturist, teacher, and writer and researcher. But I also was studying traditional body therapy work, and that was what brought me to a place called Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California, a magnificent retreat center perched on the cliffs above the Pacific Ocean. It's been a remarkable center for growth and spirituality, what we call integral education. It was there that I met Yuval 13 years ago. It was just a random meeting. I had taught there for 15 years, and only one of those years I met Yuval. And we met, and it was a moment of magic, and it birthed meta-mindfulness music. Now, I mention this specifically now because Esalen Institute itself is, in a sense, an outgrowth of the spiritual and intellectual power of Sri Aurobindo. Because Michael Murphy, the co-founder of Esalen Institute in the late 50s, spent almost 2 years at the ashram, and he was schooled and inspired by the teachings of Aurobindo. And he then came back to America and founded Esalen Institute in 1962. And to this day, it remains a center of incredible workshops and intellectual growth and uniting of body, mind, and spirit. So really, I give gratitude to the guru here. So we decided together to form this production company partly because I felt personally that the realm of music for healing needed a higher level of musicality. And that's what Yuval, as a very experienced composer, was able to bring to this field. And what we wanted to do our mission was to create beautiful original music that enhances health, mental equanimity, and the daily expression of loving kindness. And that's what the word metta is, loving kindness, from the Buddhist tradition. And we wanted to inform our music with ancient wisdom traditions. My background in Chinese medicine taught me that from the beginning of the idea of medicine in China, in fact, embraced within the character that expresses medicine, is the word for music and delight. Deeply embedded into Chinese medicine was this understanding of the vibrational power of music and sound. And each of the 5 elements of Chinese medicine are designated by a tone. And we did our earliest and our first production based on the 6 healing sounds of Chinese medicine. But we also wanted to use modern neuroscience, because in the last maybe 20 years, neuroscience, especially with functional MRI, has created a way of understanding what's happening in the brain that we never were able to achieve in a particular way. There was an empirical knowledge, but not a specific scientific knowledge. We try to stay abreast of this music therapy research, and that's one thing that's led us to one of the main things we're going to talk about a little bit later today. And we wanted all of our main themes to be played by renowned performing artists. We didn't want to have synthesized music. If you look at an oscilloscope of a guitar playing, an actual guitar compared to the sounding identical of a guitar, but generated by the computer, the vibrational potential of the acoustic instrument far exceeds what the computer is able to generate, even though on one level it sounds the same, but the vibration, which is very different. And that's a critical part of the healing capacity. So this realm of sound healing, it really occupies a curious space, because sound healing has been used for thousands of years. We know in India, the seed mantras go back probably 5,000 years. What I mentioned about Chinese medicine is actually recorded in the Neijing, the Yellow Emperor's treatise on internal medicine, which dates from 267 BC approximately. So this is a very, very old realm of what we know as healing. But now, again, with the advent of our ability to understand the brain and to see the brain in real time, it's on the leading frontier of modern neuroscience and hopefully clinical medicine. Hopefully, our dream is that at some point we'll see doctors taking out the prescription sheets and saying, I'm sending you to a sound healer. It's somewhat of a loose, amorphous arena as far as a specific definition, but we can say it's a practice that utilizes vibrations transmuted through the body and mind in order to influence the mind and body. It can be just vibrations. We find that the use of extremely beautiful and pleasant music facilitates the healing process. It adds to compliance, meaning people will do what you request them to do as far as you prescribe this work. We want to normalize imbalances and synchronize the cell's frequencies back to their natural and healthy state of vibrational resonance. Every cell of our body, with our electrons spinning around a nucleus, is sending off a vibration, a frequency. Every organ of our body has a unique signature of energy vibration. The more we understand what's happening at this level and know for instance, how your liver is functioning when it's healthy as far as vibrational diagnostics, and if we can then see the liver when you're having a disease process developing, the vibrational change, and then we hopefully will be able to then send frequencies into the body to help normalize and create a state of resonance again. Sound affects the entire body, but our particular interest right now is really on the brain. And the effect of brain is multifaceted. It's bioelectric. The neural pathways of the brain are functioning at a certain vibration. It's also physiologic. The brain is producing especially endorphins, which are naturally occurring opiates, which how we deal with pain. The brain is producing some serotonin. Most serotonin is actually produced in the gut, but serotonin and other enzymes and hormones that affect mood. And then the physical structure of the brain itself, the brain architecture. What research has shown is that with meditation, 40 days of meditation at 40 minutes a day, more gray matter is produced in the brain. The brain architecture itself physically changes. The idea of brain waves was known empirically, especially by meditative traditions, because strong meditators throughout history have known they were able to get to different states of awareness and consciousness. Only in the 1970s was equipment designed to actually pick up the vibrations, the frequencies on the surface of the brain. And these are these well-known brain waves that we see here in this chart. I'm talking to you, and hopefully you're listening to me in beta, which is you're alert, we're concentration and thinking, but our brain is moving quite fast, up to 30 hertz. That means how many beats per second the brain is functioning. And then we go from alpha and theta and then into delta, which is deep sleep. Interestingly, advanced monks, especially Tibetan monks, have been studied in delta, which usually means deep sleep even without dreams, and they're conscious. So I always felt that if an individual has that potential, we all do. I'm not expecting to achieve it in my lifetime, but I think it's just fascinating. So for the first approximately 10 years of my work with Yuval, we were creating beautiful music to take the listener from beta into deeper meditative states. We're able to do something called brain entrainment with sound. Brain entrainment is a way where we use auditory stimuli, which is either the rhythm or the pacing of the music, but we also can add beats, sometimes even subliminal beats, and these change the vibrational activity of the brain to promote various states of consciousness. Now, in simple terms, that means when we put a signal into the brain, let's say if we want to go from beta to alpha, we're using this vibrational hertz level, and at a certain point, the brain will begin to cycle at that stimuli. And this is a remarkable way of helping facilitate positive brain function. Certainly, if we're getting into alpha, we're getting into relaxation. And this helps with reducing stress, which is extremely important. If we can go deeper, we can improve sleep. Sleep is absolutely essential, and there's actually the functional MRIs have taught us something new about the brain in sleep, which is the brain when we sleep and we have consistently deep sleep, our brain structure actually changes size, and actually tiny rivulets open in the brain and drains the brain of the metabolic byproduct of the dynamic activity of our brains. So whatever we can do to improve sleep that's not pharmaceutical and not hormonal, like melatonin even, I think it's extremely important for brain function and overall health and cognitive health. We can help the brain become more focused and concentrate better, and this really helps professionals. So having music in the background can also help us stay sharp and on task. Creative people like to use brain entrainment because it improves their creativity and their problem-solving skills. And as I've mentioned before, we can use these sounds to actually facilitate mood improvement. We can actually help the brain feel happier, have the person feel happier. This is something we know we can achieve with acupuncture too, which is quite fascinating. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Yuval now, and he's going to talk specifically about gamma, which if you remember the chart I showed you here, gamma is up here. This is fast. This is above our cognizant awareness that we're speaking at, and this is where potentially insight, peak experience, and synchronization. This is maybe a place where shamans and psychics go to receive information. This is maybe the place that you go when you've been thinking about a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, and all of a sudden they give you a call. So I'm going to turn it over to Yuval.
Thank you. Thank you. So gamma waves are a very, very recent discovery. while we knew for years about alpha, beta, and theta, and gamma, which is the fastest vibrating brain, it's something that until today, most of what the research comes up with is the speculations. It's still yet to be determined why we have the ability to vibrate our brain so fast in gamma. It's a very fast vibration. The fascinating thing was that in research in New York City, in Columbia University, it was found that people that suffer from dementia and Alzheimer don't have anymore much vibration in that frequency, in gamma wave. And that was the first clue towards the research that we are now involved with, called 40 hertz. So next slide, please. So 40 hertz is one of the gamma vibration. So gamma is between 30 hertz, which means 30 cycles a second, to about 100 hertz. And it's very, very, very fast wave. After the discovery in New York City that older people that suffer from cognitive issues don't vibrate their brain anymore in that frequency, there were a team of researchers in MIT that decided that they want to find out which exactly is the vibration that is really caused this issue with cognitive brain diseases like Alzheimer and dementia. And so they tested it on mice, and they tried different vibrations within 30 hertz, which is 30 waves a second, to 100 waves. They checked all those frequencies, and they found that 40 hertz was the magic frequency. 40 hertz affected the brains of mice in regards to cognitive function. And they found that the vibration of 40 hertz, when it was fed to the mice through first just light pulsation, they used light, 40 blinks a second, and that created the vibration of 40 hertz in the brains of the mice. And they found that that vibration start to activate a mechanism in the brain of mice that start cleaning the plaque that gathered on the memory pathways and is one of the causes or the symptoms of dementia and Alzheimer. And the 40 hertz treatment for the mice cleansed, cleared the plaque, and improved their memory. And that was a very dramatic discovery. Let's go to the next slide, please. So if you look down here in the gray background, 40 hertz is part of the gamma. It's believed to play a role in brain's ability to bind together different pieces of sensory information, such as visual and auditory information, into cohesive whole. So just last December, so a few months ago, the first experiment in humans was released, and the study results showed that the positive impact of using 40 hertz therapy using sound and light have affected humans in a positive way, and there were no negative side effects. So that is very, very, very new cutting edge research, because only last December the first study in humans was published. Most doctors don't know about it. Most doctors that deal with dementia and cognitive are not familiar with this. This is real research in progress. And we have had the contact with doctors that are actually using it with patients. We are working now with two different doctors, actually three doctors, one in Boston, one in George Washington University, and one in California. And those doctors actually prescribe 40 hertz therapy to their patients, and they're seeing incredible improvement in their condition. Let's go to the next slide. So we decided to create music that will deliver this important frequency of 40 hertz to the brain. And we created music that has the 40 hertz vibration in it, in addition to other healing and relaxing properties that are in the music, in order to provide to the brain that healing frequencies that can affect positively conditions of Alzheimer, dementia, epilepsy, and some psychological mental conditions. How do we do that? We use music, but we also use binaural beats, which is the next slide. Binaural beats are a way to get the brain to vibrate at the frequency that you want the brain to vibrate. And it's called binaural beats because there are two different beats. Binaural is two. Neural from neuroscience is the brain. So what we use is two different pulsations, two different vibrations. One is in the left ear and the other one in the right ear. It's delivered through headphones. That's why binaural beats music, you have to use headphones in order to get the impact. And the amazing thing is that by sending one pulsation of music in the right ear and another one in the left ear, what was found is that the brain takes those two frequencies and the brain creates a third frequency that is the gap between the first frequency from the left ear and the right ear. So for example, if you give a person 20 hertz in the right ear and 30 hertz in the left ear, 20 and 30, the brain receives 20 pulsation a second from one ear and 30 pulsation from the other ear. The brain produces the difference, which is 30 minus 20, the difference is 10. In the brain, there's a new wave of 10 cycles a second, 10 vibrations a second, that is created only in the brain of the listener. That vibration does not exist in real life. It doesn't exist in the music. It doesn't exist in the headphones. It's being produced only by the brain of the listener. And that new frequency can synchronize the brain to that pulsation, because research have been found that we humans and animals have the tendency to synchronize to external pulsation. So if you go to a jazz club and the band is playing a slow beat, jazz, ballad, and you see people moving their fingers and they're moving their feet to the beat. Ta-dum, dum, 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 ta-dum. You see people swaying to the beat. And then the band goes into a fast jazz tune. Ta-dum, dum, ta-dum, and people start snapping along and their feet stamping and they move and they sway to the music. That's how we dance. We want to synchronize to external brain. We want to, our brain wants to synchronize to external pulse. And that is that phenomena, natural phenomena that we are using with this technology of binaural beats. Let's go to the next slide. And this is a very important slide for us because this is something that most people in the world are not aware of. And it's actually caused damage to our whole human race. Is the fact that the digital revolution have moved our music from a very rich sounding scape and sound waves. If you think about the turntable and the vinyl, when we recorded music started in the 30s, 1930s and 40s and 50s, everything was on vinyl, on LP, which is called analog. And that is a very, very, very rich and closest to the real sound that you have in a concert, in live concert. Then came the digital revolution. The digital revolution digitized the sound wave into numbers. And that is what you see on the right side. The wave the wave file, and you can see how much information there is there. Those orange line, that's a digital sound wave that is capturing the sound into a digital information. And it's not as rich as the vinyl, as the LP, but it's rather rich. And in the last 20 years, there have been another revolution with the internet, sending sound through the internet. The digital wave that is not perfect, that it's not as good as live music, that it's not as rich as a vinyl LP, that digital wave file is too heavy and too big for the internet. And so what engineers did, they stripped it down to what we called MP3. And that is all the music that you hear on the internet, all the music that you get from YouTube and Spotify is all MP3, low quality, stripped down music that takes away a lot of the depth of the music and some of the vibration that is in the music, and we get really watered down vibration, which is the music that now people listen to mostly on their phones and on the internet. And so we always recommend for people to download, not to stream, but to download high quality audio wave file. Wave is spelled W-A-V. In order to get the full vibration, in order to get the full impact of the healing of music. So this is as much as we prepared for you this morning. This is very short, very brief. It's really, everything is on the surface because of the time, because we would need 4 days or 7 weeks to really teach what we're talking about. But this is just a little teaser, a little sample, and we would be happy to receive any questions that you have and to be in touch. These are our emails. If you'd like to put it in the chat or if you'd like to write it down, please send us any question, any suggestion, any requests. And we have some time for Q&A if you'd like to ask us anything about this subject.
Yuval, could you please speak about how we created the triple strength 40 hertz? You really.
Okay. So
I think it's important.
we can stop sharing screen, please.
Okay.
So the music that we created for 40 hertz, we call it triple strength 40 hertz because there are 3 different layers of 40 hertz in the track. First of all, the bass sound, what we call the drone, the layer that supports the music, which is very thick, it's made from the note of E1 on the piano. There's a bass note called E or Mi in European terms, and that is on the piano, on the Western piano, it's not tuned to 40 hertz. It's about 41.24, but we tuned our instruments down to 40 hertz and we recorded the first layer of the bass sound that goes throughout the whole music. That is 40 hertz plus its overtones. The overtones are the high frequencies that are within a tone. So every tone has higher frequencies that are present there. So 40 hertz has an 80 hertz and it has a 160 hertz and so forth. Those are multiples of 2. So we have that layer in the music, in the bass. We have 40 hertz vibration in the music. Then we composed music using ancient Indian raga from India that have been used for generations in India for relaxations and sleep and healing. And I composed the music in those ragas. I had it recorded in Mumbai, in Los Angeles, by masters of music from India and from Iran, and they recorded the music while all the instruments were tuned down to 40 hertz. In Western terms, the Western orchestra around the world is tuned to what we call A440, and if you tune it down to 40 hertz, you ended up that A is not 440, A is actually 428, or exactly it's 427.7, but we rounded to 428. So it's lower tuning than the normal Western tuning. So the first layer is the bass foundation at 40 hertz. The second layer is the instruments are tuned to 40 hertz and playing the music that is all going around 40 hertz. And then the third layer is the binaural beats. The beats, that the pulsation that we put in the headphones, lead the brain to produce the vibration of 40 hertz only in the brain of the listener. And so that's a third layer of 40 hertz vibration that the listener receives. You can listen to it without headphones and you would get 2 layers of 40 hertz and just enjoy listening it on speakers. But if you put on the headphones, you get a third layer of 40 hertz, which is the binaural beats.
Thank you.
Before we open for questions, I thought we could have a couple of minutes, just a little bit of a sound bite, and then we could open the question. Because now we listen to the sound in a different way after your talk.
Yes. Would you like to
Would you like
have
to-
a little bit of live music?
And then we can open the questions.
Okay.
I found the talk very interesting, especially this one line has deeply struck me, at least, where you spoke about the music cleaning the plaque from the memory pathways and the neural pathways of the brain, because I think that's a very important. It's something that I think we can go much more deeper into, and that really opens up the idea of of healing the brain and of course of some of the diseases you mentioned. But to begin with, I'd like to start with Eileen's question, who is asking, how can one measure what each of the instruments, such as the gong, Himalayan bowls, tuning forks, etc., are tuned to? So how do we measure if we have these bowls, how do we measure what hertz they're tuned to?
Mhm. We have digital tuners. You can have it on your phone. you can have it on a computer, you can have it in a box. Those are devices called tuners. They are used to tune instruments, but we use them as measurement instruments because those tuners show you the vibration, how many cycles a second, which means the hertz. So if you pluck a note on any instrument, the digital tuner has a needle and it will show you exactly which frequency it is. And then if you pluck a different note, the needle will move to different frequencies. And beginners, my students, when they begin and it's hard for them to tune the instruments with their ear, as their ear is not sharp enough, we use the digital tuner to help them tune and sharpen their ear. And then after a while, I advise them to let go of the digital tuner and just work with their ear. But these devices are used to measure the frequency, and so we can check any tuner, any tuning fork or any instrument and tell you exactly how many vibrations a second that instrument produces.
Yes, Tong has a question.
Thank you so much, Richard and Yuval. First, I'm based in Amsterdam, but I'm Chinese. I grew up with Chinese medicine. My mom is both Western doctor and Chinese medicine. And the work what you are doing is so fantastic. And has been also what I'm exploring. So the two questions. First is, in the past, I thought when we are doing some concentrated work, having music will be distracting, make not much unified. What you are saying is that when we choose music consciously, it actually facilitates our concentration. Now, how do we choose those musics? So that is first question. And second question is, I checked your website. I was amazed by the production, the creative work you have been doing. And if I want to work with, for my mom, and she's now 81, she's still healthy, but to use 80, the 40 hertz music and binaural, which one would you recommend for me, for my mom, for my husband, who is also here? Are we chosen differently? What is the wisdom if we want to buy from you, and will it be sent to Amsterdam? How does it work? Thank you so much.
Well, you can download the music from our website wherever you are in the world. You can get it right on our website. And on our website, you have the high quality wave audio that you can download to any computer around the world. You can get our music in all music platforms like Apple Music or anywhere in the world. You can get our music, but it's the low quality MP3. On our website, you can get the original full vibration. So I recommend that you download it from our website. The 40 hertz music is in the brain health section on the website, brain health. And there's 2 albums right now, that's 40 hertz volume 2, 40 hertz volume 1. This is recommended for brain health. By the way, I wanted to respond to Ameeta's comment, which also will explain to you how to choose it. The 40 hertz, one of the things that we learned from the science that we were given is that the 40 hertz vibration increase blood flow in the brain. And this is very early stage. It could be that all the health benefits of the 40 hertz perhaps comes from the simple fact that it increases blood flow in the brain. That's what we know right now. We will know more in the future. But another thing that we know is that it doesn't actually cleanse the plaque. The 40 hertz vibration causes a natural mechanism in the brain that's supposed to be in charge of cleaning the plaque on a regular basis. And when we get old and when we suffer from certain conditions in our lives that cause people to get dementia or Alzheimer, those people, their natural mechanism in the brain that's supposed to clear the plaque in the memory pathways, that mechanism just stopped working. And so the 40 hertz vibration is causing the natural mechanism to start working again. It's like a little janitor that just got tired, and somebody come and energize them on the shoulder with a little massage and say to the janitor, hey, wake up, it's time to clean the hallway. And that's what happens with this situation. That's what we know thus far, and we will know more. So back to you, Tong. For brain health, I think anybody, from the age of 40 or 50 should listen to 40 hertz music, because it's just going to maintain good well-being for the brain. Now, regarding your question about music for focus and studying, we have particular music that binaural beats music that bring your brain to alpha, and alpha is a very, very good. It's calm and alert state, which is very, very good for studying. And so music that facilitate focus and concentration and calmness would be ideal for study. So not every music is for studying. So you need to really read and find out which one is for focus. And that's how you go along. I'll say just one last thing about how to choose music for healing and meditation and all kinds of things like this. There was a study done, I believe in Scandinavia, where the music therapist in a recovery unit in the emergency room where people recover from surgeries, they gave the music therapist to choose the music. And then they had another study where they had the patients themselves chose the music, which music they want. And the music therapist, who studied for years and knows a lot about music, actually had lower success rate than when people individually chose the music that they considered relaxing and soothing. Their recovery was faster. They were released earlier from the emergency room, and they used less pain medication. So that was an amazing breakthrough study that shows us that actually we know more than the music therapist. We are our real first healer. If we really focus, if we really attune to what we need, and we choose what we love, then it's more healing than any other medicine when it comes to music. So you need to really think about what is the music that is the most soothing and the most beautiful and the most relaxing for me. That is your best music for relaxation, for sleep, for well-being. And then your husband, your mother, your neighbor, it may be a completely different choice. So this is one level. And then you have the science of binaural beats and the alpha waves and the theta and the delta waves. And on our website, you can find out which is the right brainwave for music, for what you want, where you want your brain to go. If you want your brain to go to deep meditation, or if you want your brain to go to deep sleep, or if you want your brain to go to focus and concentration, that is another way of going about it.
I'd like to add, for your parents, our 6 healing sounds will be the most resonant for them, I believe, because we use the Chinese harp, we use a bamboo flute. There'll be familiar sounds for them, which I think will be received very, very positively. One thing I might suggest too, we do have a YouTube channel, Metta Mindfulness Music, where you can sample the music. Now that's going to be in MP3 quality, but you can sample music that way. And if there's something you really like and you really feel that the wave format would be better, then you could then order that, get that download. But that's a way of sampling without making the expense.
Good, thank you. There's another question. Will we need a specific headphone to listen to the 40 hertz music?
No, any headphones can vibrate at 40 hertz.
Certainly,
it's
the better the headphone, the better the sound quality, but really you don't have to go to high expense for that.
Any other questions? Anyone else? Good. So I think, yes, we are in good time. And I would really like to thank both Yuval and Richard for taking the time out for this wonderful webinar. I think all of us enjoyed the music. I was quite right that it was affecting my brain, and now I know why. We were possibly playing 40 hertz music. And I think it's in this area that we all would like to explore further and deepen our own study. And we do hope that you will be with us in India next year for our Gnostic Centre conference and actually have a live performance on this music.
From the YouTube also, there is a question, if there is time, for the scientific article which Yuval mentioned. And there are appreciative comments also about the power of the music they heard.
Yeah, if people would like to get the links to all the scientific papers that we rely on, we have a section in our website, Meta with double T, metamindfulnessmusic.com. On the top of the page, there's a button called Learn. And in Learn, you have a link to all the scientific papers that we receive from scientists and we based our music on. So we put it there for the public to see. And there are articles and studies all in that website.
This is very much an emerging scientific inquiry now. And we're happy if anybody's involved in research, we're happy to provide intellectual property for any kind of study because we're very curious to see what's happening. One technical term that might be helpful is the cleansing mechanism that happens in the brain is called glymphatics. That's Glymphatics, glymphatics. This is dynamic change of the brain. And we believe that 40 hertz is helping that. And one final comment, which is we shouldn't wait for cognitive decline. I think all of this, we're all at risk because of environmental toxins and stress, et cetera, the screens we're on. So whatever we can do to facilitate our brain health at any age, from childhood on, I believe is very, very wise strategy to pursue.
Yeah.
Prevention is the best medicine. Thank you so much, Ameeta. Thank you all for joining us. It's been a real pleasure, and to feel like we're part of this community is very, very meaningful to us.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
day.
you for hosting. Be well.